this video, I discuss the essential grammar needed for IELTS. This is part 1 of a part 2 series. Now, before we get into the essential grammar needed for IELTS writing and speaking, let's take a look at the band descriptors. As mentioned in the introduction of this video, grammar and accuracy count 25% of your score in speaking and in writing. Let's look at the band descriptors for grammatical range and accuracy for a band 4 in writing. So, what does it say? It says, a very limited range of structures is used. Limited, that's the key word. Subordinate clauses are rare and simple sentences predominate. What does that mean? That means that to score a 4, you are not using any complex or compound sentences. You are only using simple sentences. It also says some structures are produced accurately, but grammatical errors are frequent and may impede meaning. To impede meaning means it affects the meaning. And then punctuation is often faulty or inadequate. Now, let's look at the band descriptors for speaking, and let's look at a 4 again to compare. So, it says, can produce basic sentence forms and some short sentences are error-free. So, basic sentence forms, what is that? That's a simple sentence, really. Subordinate clauses are rare. There's that key word again. We were told that in writing, and it is the same in speaking. Overall, turns are short, structures are repetitive, and errors are frequent. Okay, so I know you all don't want to get a 4. So let's see, what do we have to do to get a 5 in writing? The band descriptors tell us for grammatical range and accuracy, to score a 5, the range of structures is limited and rather repetitive. Although complex sentences are attempted, they tend to be faulty, and the greatest accuracy is achieved on simple sentences. Grammatical errors may be frequent and cause some difficulty for the reader. Punctuation may also be faulty. So as you can see, the difference between a 4 and a 5 is, okay, we have a better range of structures, but there are more errors. There are hardly any errors in the simple sentences. Let's look at a band 5 for speaking. So in the band descriptors, it says, basic sentence forms are fairly well controlled for accuracy. Complex structures are attempted, but these are limited in range. There's that word range again. And they nearly always contain errors, which may lead to the need for reformulation. So the difference between 4 and 5 is that complex structures are attempted. However, they're still limited. So let's jump to a 7 and let's see what is 7. So to get a 7 in writing, according to the band descriptors, you need a variety of complex structures, and you must be able to use them with some flexibility and accuracy. Your grammar and pronunciation are generally well controlled, and error-free sentences are frequent. A few errors in grammar may persist, but these do not impede communication. So what do we need for band 7 in speaking? Well, according to the band descriptors, you need a range of structures that you can use flexibly. Your Error-free sentences are frequent. Both simple and complex sentences are used effectively despite some errors. A few basic errors persist. Now, what do you need to score a band 8 in writing? Well, according to the band descriptors again, we need a wide range of structures within the scope of the task, and it must be flexibly and accurately used. The majority of the sentences are error-free and the punctuation is well managed. Now, for the last time in this video, let's go back to the band descriptors and let's see what would you need to score an 8 in IELTS speaking. Now remember, I'm just focusing on grammatical range and accuracy. So what kind of grammar do you need to score an 8 in speaking? Well, it says a wide range of structures that you can use flexibly, and the majority of the sentences are error-free. So you can see the difference between a 7 and an 8. What is the difference? Well, 7 said a range of structures. It did not say a wide range of structures. And also, 7 said that there will be some errors. So you can have errors and still score a 7 in speaking and in writing. You don't need to be 100% error-free to get your 7 in speaking and writing. So I hope that makes some of you feel a little bit better, but I know that most of you are aiming for a 7.5 and possibly an 8 or an 8.5. The point is, you need a wide range of grammatical structures and you need to know how to use complex sentences in a natural way, not in a forced way. Let's look at what a simple, compound, and complex sentence is. Let's start off with the easiest, a simple sentence. So a simple sentence is a sentence that contains one independent clause and no dependent clauses. It expresses a single complete thought. For example, I went to the beach. That's a simple sentence. And just because it's simple doesn't mean you must not use it in your writing or your speaking. In fact, you should use simple sentences as well as complex, as well as compound sentences. Why? Because, as I've mentioned, they're asking for a range, a wide range. Now, what is a compound sentence? So, a compound sentence consists of 2 or more independent clauses. When I say clauses, I mean sentences. 2 independent sentences joined with a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So, what are coordinating conjunctions? Also known as fanboys. Fanboys is an acronym for coordinating conjunctions. So, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Those are coordinating conjunctions. So that's how you know a sentence is compound, because you've used a coordinating conjunction. An example of a compound sentence could be, this restaurant is too expensive. And that restaurant is too crowded. Okay, so now let's talk about a complex sentence. The sentence that carries quite a bit of weight in the IELTS exam. So what is it? Well, a complex sentence is a sentence that contains one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. What does that mean? It means one independent sentence that is complete. It doesn't need anything else to make it complete. And then another dependent sentence that needs the first sentence in order to make sense. The dependent clause or the dependent sentence is introduced by a subordinating conjunction or a relative pronoun. Subordinating conjunctions include although, because, since, when, and while. Now, of course, there are many more, but those are the subordinate conjunctions that you can easily add into a sentence. Relative pronouns were also mentioned as a way to know if a sentence is complex or not. So these complex sentences are joined by subordinating conjunctions as well as relative pronouns. So let's look at a few relative pronouns. We have who, whom, which, why, when, where, whose, that. As you can see, a complex sentence is not actually that complex once you practice and you know what it is. I mean, adding a relative pronoun, adding a subordinating conjunction, that's what the examiner is looking for. And so you can even have a checklist when you're preparing for IELTS and say, do I have any subordinating conjunctions in my writing or in my speaking? Do I have any relative pronouns? And I'm not saying you just randomly throw those relative pronouns in a sentence and it makes it complex. No, the grammar has to make sense. You need to know what a complex sentence is. So practice those 3 types of sentences. You need all 3 because you need a variety. Don't be scared to add a simple sentence because it's too simple. Don't be scared to add a compound sentence. But of course, make sure that you are adding complex sentences. And in your essays, you will need complex sentences because complex ideas call for complex sentences. It's very difficult to share your opinion in simple sentences. You need those complex sentences to really express your opinion, especially when it comes to a social issue or some kind of complex idea. And it's the same with speaking. You cannot just speak in simple sentences, as you know. It just affects your fluency and you're not able to articulate yourself or express yourself correctly and fluently and naturally in English. So those are some really important sentences. In the next video, I do want to look at some other grammar elements that are important for IELTS. And these grammar elements are important for general English as well. So if you like this video, please like it, please share it, and I will see you in the next one.